Good evening to you all. Today, we will be discussing the 5th episode from Surah Al-Imran. We will start with verse 42, which says, "And when the angels said, O Mary, indeed Allah has chosen you, and purified you and chosen you above the women of all worlds." Here, in fact, there is a question. Why? Why was the word chosen repeated twice? Because, what is it actually saying? That Allah has chosen you, purified you, and chosen you. Would the meaning be affected if we just said, Allah has purified you and chosen you above the women of all worlds straight away? That was my question, in fact. Because the Quran always, doesn't use unnecessary brevity in its verses. The second thing, actually, the second question, which I was lucky enough to find an answer to, the question I always ask is, who is speaking in the verse? Who is the speaker in the verse about the angels, about Mary, and about Allah? Because what does it say? Pay attention to what the verse actually says. And when the angels said, so someone is speaking about the angels. Because if they were speaking about themselves, the wording would be completely different. All right. Oh Mary. So, they are speaking to Mary. Mary herself is not speaking. That Allah, indeed he is. So, there is someone here speaking about all three. Actually, I found an answer to this, do you know where? From Sheikh Muhammad Zayed Tantawi. What does he say? He says, who is speaking in the verse? Pay attention to the following arrangement. He says, that Allah told the Prophet, say to the people, that the angels said to Mary, Allah has chosen you above the women of all worlds. What do you think? Once more. Allah is telling the Prophet, say to the people, that the angels said to Mary, Allah has purified you and chosen you above the women of all worlds. This is the arrangement according to Muhammad Zayed Tantawi. I hope you've understood it completely. Now, on to the next point. The truth is, he says, and he purified you. Does the occurrence of menstrual blood? What exactly is menstrual blood? It's basically eggs that aren't fertilized, so they're discharged. If they are fertilized, they become an embryo. That's how it is. Just keep that in mind. Are these eggs considered an impurity that one must purify oneself from? Honestly, I don't really know. In any case, the next point. Yes. Did the angels say, O Mary? Does the angels speaking to Mary count as revelation? Because Al-Qurtubi describes Mary as a prophet. Why is that? Because the angels revealed things to her. After all, what are angels and what is an angel? Gabriel, for example, revealed things to the Prophet Muhammad, and so he became a prophet. It's the same thing. The angels revealed things to Mary, or spoke to her, so she became a prophet. So, did the angels speaking to Mary make her a prophet? That was actually my question. And by the way, the one who says she's a prophet is Al-Qurtubi, not me. All right. Now, there's one last question about this verse. What's the difference between the angels speaking to Mary in this verse we're discussing, which says, and when the angel said, O Mary, indeed Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you, and the angels calling out to Zechariah or to Zachariah? Because there it says, so the angels called out to him while he was standing in prayer in the sanctuary, saying that Allah gives you glad tidings of John, or of a child, or of offspring. All right, very good. So, what's the difference between saying and calling out? The angels said, O Mary, and when the angels called out to him, what's the difference between the two? All right. Verse 43, O Mary. Pay attention to the first one. And when the angels said, "O Mary." Here, they are calling out. The angels are calling out. We have moved from saying to calling out with Mary herself, not just with Zechariah in verse 37. No, here, in verse 4. In verse 43, he says, "O Mary, be devoutly obedient to your Lord. Prostrate and bow with those who bow." All right. Hear the phrase, "O Mary," as we said. Are the angels saying it to her in verse 42 and then calling out to her in verse 43? That was actually my question. All right. The second point is that the angels commanded Mary to prostrate and bow with those who bow, not with the women who bow. You see, I mean, today, and this is something that really caught my attention, the truth is, today it is forbidden for a Muslim woman to bow and prostrate in the mosque alongside a Muslim man, even though God inspired Mary. Right. Or he commanded Mary through the angels, that is, to prostrate and bow with those who bow. All right. This, of course, was mentioned by al-Baghawi. All right. Now, of course, what exactly are they afraid of? Honestly, it really bothers me that you go to pray and they tell you, no, a woman can't pray with a man for fear of temptation. Temptation? What temptation? If you're going there to worship in the first place, going to unite with God, going to pray, to bow and prostrate, what temptation is there? I don't know. 44. That is from the news of the unseen which we revealed to you. You were not with them when they cast their lots, as to which of them should be responsible for Mary, nor were you with them when they disputed. The truth is, here, the conversation suddenly shifts after verses 22 and 43, which were between Mary and the angels. It suddenly shifts to being between God and the Prophet Muhammad. Then, in verse 45, it goes back to being between the angels and Mary again. So, what is he saying to him? This is from the news of the unseen which we God revealed to you, Muhammad. Again, they're talking about Mary, but the conversation shifts, and then returns in verse 15 to being between Mary and the angels. Right. The truth is, this is the first time the Quran mentions that the priests competed with each other. They competed and threw their pens into the river, and Zachariah's pen floated, so he was the one who became Mary's guardian. Honestly, I don't know how the scholars came to know this story. In verse 37, how did they know about it? When we said in the previous video that Zachariah became her guardian and that he was the one who took care of her, we mentioned that they argued, went to the river, threw their pens in, and Zachariah's pen was the one that floated. So they told him, meaning, you are the one who should look after her, you are the most deserving of being her guardian, and all that. Here in verse 44, it still says, you were not with them when they cast their pens. So how did the scholars know about it in verse 37? Then, honestly, I don't understand. In any case, because it's only mentioned here. In verse 44, of course, the verse was saying what? And Zachariah became her guardian. Whenever Zachariah entered her sanctuary, he found provision with her. Mary said, how did you get this? If you remember, in verse 7, she said, it is from Allah, which is verse 37. Aali-Imran. Right. The truth is, O Uday, in this verse, it says, you were not with them. Allah is telling the Prophet Muhammad, you were not with them. Well, I mean, didn't the Prophet Muhammad already know he wasn't with them? Given the time difference between the event, between the matter of Mary, her incident, the angels, Zechariah, and her guardianship, and the Prophet Muhammad. Some people said it was 400 years, others said 500 years, and some said 670 years. Very good, I mean. The truth is, did the Prophet not know that he wasn't with the priests when they cast their lots? You see, I really don't get this part, honestly. So, is Allah telling the Prophet Muhammad something that the Prophet Muhammad already knows? Because you weren't with them, let me read you the 2 verses. As it says, that is from the news of the unseen, which we reveal to you, and you were not with them when they cast their pens into the river, to see who would be Mary's guardian, and not just that, and you were not with them once again. And you were not with them when they argued, meaning when they disagreed, about who would take care of Mary. Well, of course he knows. Naturally, because of the time difference, the time gap is 600 or 670 years. In any case, here it says, that is from the news of the unseen. Is this reasonable? Is the story of Zechariah taking care of Mary and them throwing their pens into the river, and Zechariah's pen floating so he becomes her guardian, is that really from the news of the unseen? How so? These are the rabbis. The Jews witnessed it. So what? Is he actually saying, it means that God is telling the prophet that the story we are telling you about the wife of Imran, about Zechariah, about Mary, and about Jesus, and all of this, we are telling you this from the news of the unseen, which only God knows, and we have informed you of it so that it may be proof of your truthfulness and your prophethood in what you convey to your people. How is that? If the Jewish rabbis witnessed these events from one side, and they reached us through the scholars from another side, then how can it be considered news of the unseen? I honestly don't understand this at all. You see, what I mean, are these stories like the story of Zechariah, his guardianship of Mary, and the wife of Imran, and all of that, and Jesus, son of Mary, and so on? Are these really from the news of the unseen, which only God knows? So how did we come to know about them? In any case, by the way, the one who says this, the one who claims that this is from the news of the unseen, all of these stories, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Tabari, Al-Tantawi, Al-Baghawi, and Ibn Kathir, those 5. So, what do you think about that? How did you come to know them, then, and pass them on to us? You're telling me these are from the news of the unseen, which only God knows, and yet you're passing them on to us. I know her. Does that mean I have knowledge of the unseen, so I'm with God as well? All right. 45. When the angels said, O Mary, indeed God gives you glad tidings of a word from him, whose name will be the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, held in honor in this world and the hereafter, and one of those brought near to God. Pay attention. We've gone back to verse 45. And when the angels said, after they had been calling out to her in the previous verse, saying, O Mary, now, and when the angels said, O Mary. Right. I just want to understand. Are they speaking or are they calling out? And what's the difference between saying and calling out? That was just a question. All right. Here, to be honest, I don't really like to repeat myself. My words. The angels called out in verse 43, literally, and hear it. Says, the angels said, all right. The truth is, there's also a question here. Who is it that's talking? About the angels, about God, and about Mary? What exactly is being said? And when it says, said, it says, the angels said, O Mary. So, someone is saying, said. It says said referring to the angels, because angels is a plural. Pay attention. When the angels said, O Mary. Also speaking about Mary. God. Speaking about God. Remains about the 3. So, who is speaking as well? The one answering is Muhammad Sayyid Tantawi. Here's his answer for you. What does he say? He says that God is telling the Prophet, say to the people, that the angels said to Mary that God gives you glad tidings of a word from him. Let me repeat that again. I'm asking, and Tantawi is answering. I'm saying, who is the one speaking? About God, about Mary, and about the angels? Tantawi answers and says, God is telling the prophet, say to the people that the angels said to Mary that God gives you glad tidings of a word from him. This is the answer. I hope you've received it exactly as it is. All right. So what is actually being said here? The third point says that Gabriel blew into the sleeve of Mary's arm, the sleeve of her arm meaning her cuff. In our dialect today, he blew into her sleeve. So Christ was created as a spiritual being. So it was Gabriel whom God sent to Mary who blew into her sleeve, just here, you see. So the Lord Jesus, or Jesus the Lord, however you wish to call him, was created as a spiritual being. Who is saying this? And that's why he was called the Spirit of God. Who is saying this? Of course, I don't really know what a spiritual being means. There's a difference between matter and spirit. But in any case, I'm just repeating what Al-Sadi says. No, what Al-Sadi says here is good. The question here is, was it Gabriel who blew into Mary? Or was it God himself who blew into her? I mean, I want to know blowing, as in blowing in his own way. God knows best. I'm not going to claim whether it was this or that. I'm just asking. Because keep in mind, did God blow into her from his own spirit, or is Gabriel the Spirit of God who blew into her? Because if Gabriel is the Spirit of God who blew into Mary, this will come up again. It's another very big problem. Does God create his own spirit? Or is it his spirit? Or is God himself a spirit? This is the problem, that God creates his spirit to send it to Mary to blow into her. Then suddenly, Jesus Christ is the Spirit of God and his word. So, my question in short is, was it God who blew into Mary from his spirit? Or was it Gabriel who blew into her, considering he is the Spirit of God? That was the real question. All right. 36. He speaks to the people about the Mahdi, an old man and one of the righteous. Here, God singled out Jesus Christ by granting him speech as a child. No one ever speaks as a child in the cradle. That is, he's not supposed to be able to speak yet. No, but he granted him speech. For what reason? As evidence of his prophethood on one hand, and to show people his power on the other. Who says this? Al-Tabari. Very well. So that's the truth. I consider verse 46 to be a continuation of verse 45. I don't know why it wasn't added to it. Honestly, I don't know why it's a separate verse. What's the wisdom in that, if it's just a continuation of the previous one? In any case. 47. Who said this? Mary said, My Lord, how can I have a child when no man has touched me? God said so. He said, he said, I don't know. So it is God. Is it God who says about himself? He said, he is God, thus he creates whatever he wills. This is an issue we won't address right now. When he decrees a matter, he only says to it, be, and it is. In any case, Gabriel, in Maryam, verse 19, he said to Mary, I am only a messenger from your Lord, to guide you to a wise boy. She replied to him in Aali-Imran, Verse 47. To say to him, how can I have a child when no man has touched me? I mean, honestly, bear in mind that we spoke about, and he supported him with the Holy Spirit, in verse 23 of Al-Baqarah. So we have verse 23 of Al-Baqarah, and we have verse 19 of Maryam, and we have verse 27. As for Aali-Imran, I don't really know what the wisdom is behind the story, appearing in more than one chapter. Honestly, I don't understand it. This whole thing. I mean, in Maryam 19, he says to her, I am only a messenger of your Lord, to grant you a pure boy. Then she replies in verse 27 of Aali-Imran, saying to him, how can I have a child when no man has touched me? It doesn't quite add up here. Honestly, when it comes to the matter of the blowing that we mentioned, whether it was God's Spirit or Gabriel himself, in truth, there are many opinions. One opinion says that he blew into the opening of her garment. Another opinion says that he blew into her womb, the womb itself. A third opinion says that he didn't blow into the womb, because if he had, then part of Jesus would be human, and part would be angelic. And there's a fourth and final opinion which says that God placed the male fluid in Mary's back, and the female fluid in her womb. Gabriel came and breathed into her of his spirit, and her water fell from her back. The fluid from the back means into her womb, so the two fluids mixed and formed Jesus Christ, or Isa. Pay attention to who is saying this. Who is Al-Qurtubi? Alright, so some people said that he blew into her sleeve, or into the opening of her arm, while others said that he blew into her womb, and some said that it wouldn't be appropriate to blow into the womb, because then part of him would be human and part of him would be an angel. And a fourth group said that he blew into her, so the fluid from her back or her loins mixed with the fluid in her womb. And from the two of them came Jesus Christ. All these stories were told by Al-Qurtubi, and he is responsible for what he said. Alright. 48. And he will teach him the book, wisdom, the Torah, and the gospel. Here, regarding the book, there is an opinion that it means writing and script. God will teach him writing, not the book itself. Alright. In fact, this view is held by Al-Sadiyai, Al-Tantawi, and Ibn Kathir. And he will teach him writing, meaning writing, and script. But here's a question. How does God teach the book himself? I mean, I don't understand. Okay, he will tell him to learn, and he will go learn. I don't get it. I don't know. The second point, he says no. There's another opinion that says no. It's not writing, it doesn't mean writing, it's just a book, but different from the Torah and the Gospel, a completely different book. What is it? We don't know. Who said that? Al-Qurtubi. Alright, here's a question. Who is speaking about God in the third person? In the Word, he teaches him. It's someone talking about God, saying that he will teach him the book, wisdom, the Torah, and the Gospel. Who is it that's speaking about God and saying he teaches him? Of course, the people of Kufa used to recite it, as in we teach him. Alright. 49. And we're nearly finished now. And as a messenger to the children of Israel, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. I create for you out of clay the shape of a bird. Then I breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by God's permission. And I heal the blind and the leper, and I bring the dead to life by God's permission. And I inform you of what you eat and what you store in your houses. Indeed, in that there is a sign for you, if you are believers. Very good. Here. I mean, honestly, look. And as a messenger to the children of Israel. Now, of course, here, I Jesus is speaking about himself. Exactly. Isa is speaking about himself. He says but my point is with the phrase "and as a messenger to the children of Israel." Is it attached to the previous verse where he was saying, "And he will teach him the book, wisdom, the Torah, and the gospel, and as a messenger to the children of Israel"? Is it joined to what came before? And then we start from here, and we say that he is speaking about himself, because he will say, Jesus will say, and as a messenger, the war here is definitely a conjunction to what follows. So, is the verse here starting with "and as a messenger"? Is he himself saying "and as a messenger"? Or is it just "as a messenger"? This is attached to verse 48, which is "and he will teach him the book, wisdom, the Torah, and the gospel, and as a messenger to the children of Israel." I don't know how this ended up here. To be honest, I don't understand it. I can't reconcile it. With me, I am with God, not with Jesus. And the messenger, who is the one saying "and as a messenger"? Is he saying about himself "and as a messenger"? Or is God saying about him "and as a messenger"? So, he taught him the book, wisdom, and the Torah, and made him a messenger. Or is it that he is calling himself a messenger? I really don't understand it. 49. All right. So honestly, I don't know. And as a messenger to the children of Israel, I really have no idea. All right. Honestly, the second point is that he repeated the word "indeed" twice. What does he say? He says, "and as a messenger to the children of Israel, indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. Indeed, I create for you out of clay the form of a bird." All right. The next point, honestly, the conversation also suddenly shifts between Jesus and his people, because he says to them, "I have come to you. Indeed, I myself, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, that I am able to make from clay the form of a bird, and heal the blind and the leper, and do and create all these things." Very good. Bear in mind that the conversation was between Gabriel and Mary. In 47-48, she keeps saying to him, "How can I have a child when no man has touched me?" So he says to her, "I have come to you from God," and so on. Suddenly, the conversation shifts to being between Jesus and his people. After it was between the angels and Mary, now it's between Jesus and his people. In any case, that's all fine here. The truth is, the Quran acknowledges that Jesus had for very important miracles, that he could take clay and turn it into a bird, heal the blind and the leper, and do the other things as well. Oh, I create for you out of clay the shape of a bird. Then I blow into it and it becomes a bird by God's permission. I heal. That's 1. I heal the blind 2, and the leper 3. And I raise the dead. And not only that, I tell you what you eat and what you store up. Very impressive. These are miracles. All right. So, where are the miracles of Prophet Muhammad then? Even the Quran. If we assume it's a miracle, Prophet Muhammad had nothing to do with it, because he just conveyed it. If God had revealed the Quran to me or to you, you would have conveyed it just the same. He wouldn't have read anything. It's just a message that comes and I say it. It's not a big deal. Jesus himself, according to the Quran, had miracles. Prophet Muhammad doesn't have any miracles. If we assume, I'm repeating it again, if we assume that the Quran is a miracle, then it's God's miracle, not Prophet Muhammad's. He just conveyed it. That's not a miracle. By the way, conveying the Quran isn't a miracle. That's my opinion, and I could be wrong. I discuss issues emotionally. I'm discussing them rationally, as I've told you before. Prophet Muhammad in comparison to Jesus Christ. No, Jesus Christ performed miracles. Prophet Muhammad does not have miracles. If anyone knows of any miracles, let them tell us. The miracles of Jesus are clear. In the Quran, he brings the dead back to life, mate. I mean, and the last one, he says, and confirming what is before me of the Torah. Pay attention here. Jesus spoke and said, and confirming what is before him of the Torah. And this was after he raised the dead and healed the blind and the leper. And what does he say next? He says, and confirming what is before me of the Torah, and to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you, and I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, so fear God and obey me. Here, the speech is also in the present tense, in the words of Jesus, because he says it is confirming what is before me, and to make lawful, and to make lawful. All right, and I have come to you. All right. The truth here is this. That is, the scholars say that the phrase to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you means that the gospel came as a completion of the Torah. Nothing was abrogated from it except for a few minor details, especially regarding food, birds, and all those things, which is absolutely fine. Who is saying this? The ones saying this are Ibn Kathir, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Tabari, and Tantawi. The truth is, there is also a question here. A final question. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. Here, what is the ruling on repetition? I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. In verse 49 and in verse 50. So, what does it say in verse 49? And a messenger to the children of Israel. Indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. All right, and what does it say in verse 50? And to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you, and I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. Well, the matter is quite similar. These are the verses. All these are verses from our Lord. So that's it. Then, what is the wisdom behind the repetition? I have come to you with a sign from your Lord in verses 49 and 50. That was the real question. Honestly, I thank you very much.